Everybody thinks he faked his death. He's not dead. There was many things that happened and he got set up for a little bit.
Allie Carter says Tupac Shakur is alive. She says she has footage to prove it. She also says she knows because Tupac is her father. 2 claims, 1 woman. And the deeper you go into the evidence, the more complicated this story gets. Here is where it starts. Allie Carter says Tupac is alive. Allie Carter is a social media personality who has, over the course of several years, built a following by making one central claim. Tupac Shakur did not die on September 13, 1996. She has posted videos, images, and statements across multiple platforms insisting that Tupac is alive and that she has footage recorded after his supposed death to prove it. That claim alone would be enough to generate traffic on the internet. Tupac's death has been one of the most debated events in music history since the night it happened. But what separates Allie Carter from the average person posting a conspiracy theory is how she frames her access to this information. She is not saying she stumbled onto something online. She is not saying she pieced together clues from his discography or the numerology surrounding his death. She is saying the footage came to her because of who she is and who she says Tupac is to her.
Yes, it's the pinnacle of all of those. Now this is
I
the
always
next
started to start
level,
digging
which is
and
new.
seeing where things led and who I really was and what was really going on, because things didn't make sense to me.
That is Allie Carter framing her story not as a theory she developed, but as a truth she uncovered about herself. And the footage claim sits at the center of all of it. What she has shared publicly has been analyzed by viewers, commentators, and people with a close eye on the technical side of video authentication. The images and clips she has posted have been scrutinized for inconsistencies in lighting, resolution, and metadata. No independent forensic analyst has authenticated what she has shared. No law enforcement body has acknowledged it. No member of Tupac's estate, his label, or his documented inner circle has confirmed that footage of Tupac recorded after September 13, 1996 exists in any form. What exists in the public record are her descriptions of the footage and her assertion that she has seen something the rest of the world has not. That gap between what she says exists and what she has actually produced in verifiable form is where the footage claim lives. She has not released it in a way that can be independently examined. She has released the idea of it. And for a portion of the internet that has spent nearly 3 decades wanting Tupac to be alive, the idea is enough to keep the conversation going. The scale of her reach matters here. Allie Carter is not posting into a vacuum. She has built a following across Instagram and other platforms by returning to this story repeatedly in different formats from different angles. Each post adds a layer. Each video extends the mythology she is constructing around herself and around Tupac. The audience she has built is an audience that already believes Tupac is alive, or wants to. She is not converting skeptics. She is reinforcing a belief system that already exists and inserting herself into the center of it as the person with the most direct access. That is a specific kind of social media strategy, whether it is conscious or not. The footage claim keeps people coming back because it promises resolution, a final piece of evidence that will settle the question permanently, but the footage is never produced in verifiable form. The promise of resolution is perpetually deferred, and a perpetually deferred promise keeps an audience engaged far longer than a resolved one. The belief that Tupac faked his death is one of the longest-running conspiracy theories in music history. It emerged almost immediately after his death in 1996 and has never fully gone away. Allie Carter did not create this tradition. She stepped into it and positioned herself not as an observer of it, but as a primary source inside it. That positioning is important because it changes the nature of what she is asking the audience to accept. It is no longer, here is a theory. It is, here is testimony. Here is a person with first-hand access. Here is someone who knows because of who she is. And the audience she is speaking to already wants the theory to be true, which means they are not scrutinizing her claim the way they would scrutinize a stranger's. They are receiving it the way you receive a confirmation of something you already believe. That dynamic, a receptive audience, a claim of personal access, a promise of evidence not yet fully produced, is the engine of what Allie Carter has built, and who she says she is to Tupac is what the next part of this story is about. Allie Carter says she is Tupac's daughter. The footage claim and the daughter claim are not separate arguments. They are the same argument. Allie Carter's case for having footage of Tupac alive rests entirely on her case for being Tupac's daughter. One gives the other its weight. Remove the bloodline claim, and there is no reason for her to have access to footage that no one else has. Remove the footage, and the bloodline claim becomes another unverified personal assertion with no stakes attached to it. So the daughter's claim is where the story needs to be examined closely, and the place she starts is not with Tupac. It is with her own childhood, specifically the things that were withheld from her and the way the people around her behaved when the subject of her identity came up.
Everybody kept my baby picture from me. Nobody wanted to show me my birth certificate. People kept things from me like it was a huge secret.
She is pointing to specific things, not feelings, not impressions, documents, or the absence of them. A birth certificate nobody would show her. Baby pictures that did not exist. People around her treat her origins as something requiring protection. Each of those things in her telling is a data point. Each absence is a signal. And the pattern those signals form, she says, points in one direction.
People treated me different. And I have one baby picture. Just one.
One photograph of herself as an infant. That is the documentation of her own early life that she has access to. And the birth certificate, the document that would name her father, is the one she says was kept from her. When she finally got an explanation for why her father's name was absent from it, the explanation she received was this: a shift change at the hospital. She was born at St. Bernardine's Hospital in San Bernardino, California, and she was told that the paperwork was affected by a staff rotation, that a nurse had to sign in place of whoever would otherwise have completed that section of the document.
Told me at St. Bernardine's Hospital in San Bernardino, California, that the reason why my father wasn't on the birth certificate was because of a shift change. And that the nurse had to sign for me because it was shift change.
A shift change. That is the explanation she was given for one of the most basic pieces of information a person can have about themselves. And when she returned to St. Bernardine's years later to request the records herself, she says what happened next is what confirmed for her that her identity was something being actively concealed.
St. Bernardine's, when I went back a few years ago, I asked them for the paperwork, and the nurse started crying when she went back into the inventory and saw my last name.
The nurse went into the records room, looked up her file, saw her last name, and came back out in tears, crying and shaking, apologizing before she had said a word about what she found.
She came out and she was crying and shaking, and I was already saying she was so sorry, and she didn't even tell me what happened yet. I'm like, why are you crying? What's really going on?
That scene, the crying nurse, the apology before the explanation, is the moment Allie Carter points to as confirmation. A stranger broke down at the sight of her last name in an archive. In her reading, that reaction means her last name is connected to something people in positions of knowledge know better than to say out loud. She also connects her identity to the Outlaws, the rap collective Tupac formed in the final years of his life. She describes recognizing something in the way the Outlaws operate, their authority, the fear they inspire, and seeing that same quality in herself. The Outlaws were not just a music group. In Tupac's framing, they were a crew, people who operated by a different code, outside mainstream structures, defined by loyalty, and by the kind of authority that does not get voted in. It was an identity as much as it was a brand, and Allie Carter says she grew up carrying that same identity without understanding where it came from.
And I was supposed to be that person. I was supposed to grow up and be that person, and everybody used to be scared of me for that reason, because I was one of those shot callers when I was really young. And the Outlaws are known for that.
She was supposed to inherit that role. And then she says the sentence that the entire account has been building toward.
Tupac is an outlaw. Tupac is...
The clip cuts off, but the architecture of everything she has said before that moment has already finished the sentence. She is his daughter. Everything withheld from her, the birth certificate, the photographs, the truth about who she is because of that. And the footage she has is her inheritance. What would move that claim into verifiable territory is also the most straightforward thing available: a DNA test, a documented connection between her mother and Tupac Shakur, a corroborating account from anyone in Tupac's circle. None of those things are in the public record.
And I don't have any baby pictures of me. I don't know what I would look like as a kid.
Whatever the truth of her parentage, Allie Carter is describing a life marked by real absence and real loss. The question is whether the specific conclusion she has drawn from that absence, that Tupac Shakur is her father, is supported by anything other than the shape of her own pain. And right now, it is not. How Tupac actually died. On the night of September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur attended the Mike Tyson vs. Bruce Seldon boxing match at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas with Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight. After the fight, a brawl broke out in the hotel lobby involving members of Tupac's entourage and a man named Orlando Anderson, a Southside Compton Crips affiliate. That brawl was caught on MGM Grand security cameras. The footage shows Tupac involved in the fight. The people connected to Orlando Anderson saw all of it, that brawl and the history between the two groups that preceded it is what set the rest of the night in motion. Anderson had a prior altercation with members of Tupac's camp in a Foot Locker store in Lakewood, California months earlier. His associates had stolen a medallion from a member of the Mob Piru Bloods connected to death row. The Foot Locker incident was unresolved. The MGM Grand Brawl was its continuation, and the men in the white Cadillac who would pull up alongside Sugi's BMW later that night were connected to Orlando Anderson, and they knew exactly who was in that car. Later that night, Suge Knight was driving his black BMW 750 sedan down Flamingo Road, headed toward Club 662. Tupac was in the passenger seat. A white Cadillac pulled up alongside the BMW at a red light. Someone in the back seat opened fire. Tupac was struck 4 times, twice in the chest, once in the arm, once in the thigh. Suge Knight took a bullet fragment to the head. Tupac was rushed to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada and placed in intensive care. He died 6 days later. He was 25 years old. Then in 2019, Dwayne Keith Davis, Keith D, the uncle of Orlando Anderson, gave a public account of the night on record.
Bubble Up was the driver, and Baby Lane and Freaky were in the back seat.
We was just all in the car together. Just say that.
This was the white Cadillac.
Yeah.
Keith D was arrested and indicted on 1 count of murder with use of a deadly weapon in September 2023, 27 years after the shooting. Doctors performed multiple surgeries on Tupac in those 6 days. His right lung was removed. The wounds were too extensive. On September 13, 1996, he was taken off life support and pronounced dead. Afeni Shakur was present. The death certificate exists. The funeral happened. The Outlaws have spoken publicly for years about losing him. These are not the accounts of people performing grief around someone secretly alive. They are the accounts of people who lost someone.
One of Suge's right-hand guy, our good friend, Alton McDonald, he chased the car down. He also received 1 gunshot to his vehicle.
That is the record. That is what happened. Not a version of events, not a reading of the evidence. The documented, certified, legally prosecuted account of what took place on Flamingo Road on the night of September 7th, 1996. The conspiracy theories. The conspiracy theories around Tupac's death began before he was even buried. Within days of his passing, people were already questioning the official account. A public street in Las Vegas, an entourage of dozens, surveillance cameras across the strip, a city full of witnesses, and yet no arrest, no charge, no closure. The case went cold almost immediately and stayed cold for 27 years. That kind of silence creates space for alternative explanations to take root. The most widespread theory was the simplest one. Tupac was not dead. He had staged his death to escape his enemies and gone into hiding. The evidence people pointed to was varied. The volume of music released in his name after his death was extraordinary. Enough albums to keep him charting for years. His final studio album, released under the alias Machiavelli, drew attention for its title, derived from Niccolo Machiavelli, the political theorist who wrote about feigning death to outmaneuver enemies. People pointed to the number 7. Tupac was shot on September 7th. He survived for 7 days. He died at the age of 25. 2 and 5 make 7. He was reportedly cremated the day after his death, unusually fast for an active murder investigation. His final album cover showed him on a cross. Each of these details, individually, means nothing. Together, to an audience that wanted a different answer, they formed a pattern. There were also the sightings. Cuba, various cities across the United States, photographs circulating online. None produced verifiable evidence, but each one added to the mythology, and the mythology, once established, became its own self-sustaining ecosystem. The internet accelerated all of it. What might have faded in the pre-social media era was instead preserved, shared, recirculated, and built upon. Every new sighting found a new audience. Every anniversary produced a new wave of posts revisiting the question. The question never had a chance to go quiet because the platforms that carried it never went quiet. Then there were the theories about who was behind the killing. Some pointed to Suge Knight himself. Tupac had been vocal about wanting to leave death row. Others pointed to the FBI or the LAPD, citing the well-documented history of law enforcement surveillance of black artists in the 1990s. Others pointed to the East Coast/West Coast rivalry, the same rivalry that would claim the life of the notorious B.I.G. 6 months later, in March 1997, in a shooting in Los Angeles that was also never officially solved. Biggie's murder added fuel to everything. Another unsolved killing of a major rap artist. Same industry conflict, same pattern of institutional failure. And in that environment, the idea that powerful forces could cover up Tupac being alive started to seem less like a stretch and and more like a reasonable inference. There was also the sheer volume of what Tupac left behind. By some estimates, he had recorded hundreds of songs before his death that had not yet been released. Death Row and later his estate used that catalog to keep releasing music for years. Albums like Until the End of Time and Loyal to the Game were released years after his death, produced from existing recordings. For the people who wanted a different answer, that volume was not evidence of a productive artist who recorded constantly. It was evidence that someone was still recording. Ally Carter emerged from this tradition. She did not build the belief system. She inherited it and placed herself at its center, and she is the loudest current voice in a conversation that has never stopped. The verdict. So, where does everything leave us? Ally Carter has made two claims that depend on each other. Footage of Tupac recorded after his death exists, and she has access to it. And she has access to it because Tupac is her father. One claim gives the other its logic. Neither has been verified. On the footage, no authenticated video, no confirmed metadata, no chain of custody, no independent forensic analysis, no acknowledgement from anyone in Tupac's estate, his family, or any investigative body. Afeni Shakur managed his estate until her own death in 2016. And never acknowledged footage of this kind. The footage, as a verifiable object, has not been produced, and the people best positioned to know whether it exists, Tupac's mother, his estate, his closest collaborators, the members of the Outlaws who built their careers alongside him, have not said a word about it. Their silence on this specific claim is not neutral. It is the most direct possible response from the people who would know. On the daughter's claim, a birth certificate with a father's name missing is a common occurrence with many possible explanations. A hospital employee's emotional reaction to a name in a records room is undocumented and unverifiable. Feeling like a secret was kept from you is not proof that the secret is what you believe it to be. What would establish the claim? A DNA test, a corroborating account from someone in Tupac's circle, a hospital record actually produced, is not in the public record. Until any of that changes, the claim sits where it has always sat, in the space between personal conviction and verifiable fact. On the conspiracy theories, the gaps in the official account are real. The case was unsolved for 27 years, but a real gap in an official record is not the same as evidence that a different version of events is true. It is evidence that the investigation was flawed. Collapsing them into each other is how conspiracy theories sustain themselves long past the point where evidence stops supporting them. The indictment of Keith D in 2023 changed something. For the first time, a legal process is underway that may produce a definitive account of what happened on Flamingo Road. A court of law, with discovery and cross-examination, is the most thorough examination this case has ever received. Whatever comes out of that process will be the closest thing to a verified account of Tupac's death that has ever existed. It will answer questions open for nearly 3 decades, and it will do so on the basis of evidence, not personal testimony posted to Instagram, not a nurse's reaction in a back room, not a birth certificate with a missing name. Evidence. The kind that has to survive scrutiny. The kind Ally Carter's claims have never faced, and none of it, as it currently stands, includes Ally Carter. What Ally Carter is doing sits within a pattern that forms whenever someone iconic dies young in unresolved circumstances. Elvis, Michael Jackson, Biggie, the vacuum left by sudden, violent, culturally enormous death pulls speculation, mythology, and personal identification into it. People who feel connected to the figure find ways to make that connection mean something. That is not a moral failing. It is a human response to grief and unresolved loss at scale. Ally Carter is the most persistent and most personal iteration of that pattern in Tupac's story. She has positioned herself not as a theorist, but as a witness, not as a fan, but as family, and she has done it with a conviction that has been consistent across years of public statements and across multiple platforms. That consistency does not make her right, it makes her committed, and committed, sincere people can be entirely wrong about the thing they are most certain of. But conviction is not evidence, and the footage she says reveals Tupac alive after his death has not been revealed in any form that anyone outside of her account can examine. The parentage she claims has not been established by anything in the public record. The story the evidence actually tells, the indictment of Dwayne Davis, the documented shooting, the certified death, the 27 years a real family carried a real loss, does not have Ally Carter in it. Not yet, not with what exists right now. And until something verifiable changes that, the footage claim remains exactly what it has always been, a claim, compelling to some, unverifiable to everyone, and unanswered by the only people who would actually know. Ally Carter has built something real on the internet, the following, a mythology, a version of events that gives gives her a place at the center of one of music's most unresolved stories, and she has done it without producing a single piece of verifiable evidence. No footage, no DNA, no corroboration from anyone who was actually in Tupac's life. What she has produced is a feeling. The feeling that the official story is incomplete, that powerful people protect powerful secrets, that a woman who grew up with one baby picture and a missing name on a birth certificate deserves an answer that matches the size of the absence she has carried. That feeling is understandable. The absence is real, but a real absence does not automatically point toward a specific truth. It just points towards something missing, and what fills that gap, whether it is the actual explanation or the one that gives the pain the most meaning, is a choice that evidence is supposed to make, not conviction. The footage has not been verified. The bloodline has not been established. The case against Keith D is moving through a court of law, and Tupac Shakur remains exactly what the record says he has been since September 13th, 1996, gone. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.